Dear students, welcome back. I'm your Professor Shivshankar Prasad from Government First Grade College, Kerala. Today in this video, we are going to see very Indian poem in Indian English, a selected poem from the text Indian English Literature, Translation Studies and Representative Text, a paper meant for BA optional English students of 5th semester who are studying in Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. This is session number 25. This video is a continuation of session number 24 where we discussed the poem line by line, a paraphrasing and its summary. In this video, we are going to continue the analysis of this poem and also the critical appreciation of this poem. Before going into the deeper sections of the analysis of this poem, let us take a review of what we have learned already in the previous video. NISSIM EZEKIEL is a Jewish origin Indian poet who wrote poetry in Indian English. He is a foundational figure in post-colonial India's Indian poetry, known for its subtle craftsmanship, deals with common and simple themes. NISSIM EZEKIEL is one of the founding fathers of Indian English literature. Especially, he is known for his common and simple themes. He has written a poem on Indian English, that is a very Indian poem in Indian English, on the suggestion of a friend. That friend thought him that he was a good writer in English, but not in Indian English. This poem is based on the observations of the poet during his strange journeys between his college and home. NISSIM EZEKIEL collected many of the phrases from the Indian masses who were traveling in Mumbai train. So those phrases were converted into this poem, which stands as a unique poem in Indian English literature, especially the poetry. This poem is remarkable for its diction and style. Let us review the summary of this poem. The narrator, actually a patriot, supports peace and non-violence. He loves peace across the globe and he is non-violent. He is worried about the conflicts in the world and suggests Mahatma Gandhi's ideals of peace and non-violence and also the Indian wisdom. He reads Times of India to improve his English. Reads about a student stoning Indira Gandhi. In India, it is very common that people try to read some English newspapers, especially Times of India, just to improve their English. So the poet is also reading this newspaper. While he was reading the newspaper, he comes across a news that tells that a student stoned Indira Gandhi. This incident shows that modern people, especially the youth, have adopted foreign culture and they drink wine. He contrasts that with the Indian healthy lassi. The narrator in the poem observes that warmongering bordering countries of India like Pakistan and China are a great threat to India, and not only India but also for the world peace. And in the concluding part, the poet says that all Indians are brothers and sisters, though they are culturally different, linguistically different, racially different, they live in unity in diversity. The narrator open-heartedly welcomes his guest 24 into 7 at the end of the poem. This shows that Indians are open-hearted and they treat their neighbors as good friends, not only good friends but also relatives. This slide gives you some idea of the summary of the very Indian poem in Indian English. You can take the screenshot of this for your further study. Now let's dive deep into the analysis of the poem. Let us first begin by analyzing the poem by observing its themes. The following themes are found in the poem: the ideals, patriotism, and world peace. Let's look at these things one by one. Theme number one. This poem talks of ideals. Noble ideals of peace and non-violence, universal brotherhood, harmony, and upholding our own culture are envisioned by the narrator. The poet brings an omniscient narrator and a listener. The narrator describes he stands for the noble ideals of peace and non-violence. These are the two values given by Mahatma Gandhi. And he talks of universal brotherhood also. He takes the examples of people who are living in the different parts of India. They are in harmony and they uphold their own culture. These high ideals can be viewed and applied at three levels: individual, national, and international. Because these Indian values are cherished across the globe, they are followed throughout the world. They are not just national values but the international one. At the individual level, the countrymen should strive to achieve unity in diversity for peaceful coexistence. That is already happening in India. Nations also must ensure emancipation of the citizen by looking into the problems of the citizen. And global peace ensures betterment of humanity at large. So, these ideals of peace, non-violence, universal brotherhood, harmony, and upholding the culture is not only important for individual but also for the nation and the world at large. The second theme that the poet discusses in this poem is patriotism. The narrator loves his country. This is evident from the concerns he shares for the motherland. The undertone throughout the poem reflects his admiration for India. The narrator open heartedly says that he loves India and the Indian culture. He opposes those nations who are always troublesome to India, like China and Pakistan. In the poem, we can feel the admiration of the poet towards India. Being an average literate Indian, the narrator of the poem views the latest national political developments, especially stoning Indira Gandhi, critically in layman terms. It is evident from the newspaper reading of Indira Gandhi incident. The narrator here upholds the Indian culture than following the Western imitation. So, our narrator here is very nation-loving person. He loves the Indian tradition and he cherishes the Indian ideals also. The third theme that the poet discusses here is world peace. The narrator is disturbed by the global development during his times, that is 1970s. The power-hungry nations are fighting each other for supremacy over other nations. They are constantly fighting for their narrow nationalism. Even now we can see across the globe there is some kind of unrest between the nations. Every nation is trying to gain upper hand over the other nation. This will not give the world peace. The whole world starts fighting again, as we have witnessed two world wars. Meanwhile, they have neglected the emancipation of their own citizen as well as the human welfare. People have continued to thrive under substandards of living. Though there are many countries, including India, who are trying to protect themselves and expand their nationalism. But it is very ridiculous to see that many of the Indians are dying without food, shelter. So instead of fighting with other nations, all the nations across the globe should concentrate improving the lives of their citizens. This will improve the whole world and the world peace will arrive very soon. If the nations of the world try to do this, the world at large will be in peace. After having seen the themes of the poem, another important aspect in the poem analysis is the critical appreciation. Let's see what's there to appreciate in this poem. The very Indian poem in Indian English, which is also called by the name The Patriot, is a truly remarkable poem which ensures the legitimate status of Indian English. It puts the Indian sensibility in very Indian expressions. You must observe that this poem is known for its Indianness. The words, expressions used, the style of narration, everything indicates the uniqueness and Indianness. So we can analyze this poem at four levels. Phonological level, that is the analysis of this poem based on the sounds used in this poem. Lexical level, by analyzing the words selected for the poem. Syntactic level, analyzing the poem in terms of grammatical elements. Semantic level, that means the meaning the poem conveys through the expressions used here. I must be grateful for stylistic analysis of the poem The Patriot by Bablu Ray, which I found it on the internet. That helps me in making this video very meaningful. So let's look at these four levels of analysis of the poem: phonological, lexical, syntactic, semantic, one by one. Let's first start discussing this poem at phonological level. Phone means sound. Phonological means on the basis of sounds used in the poem, we should analyze this poem here. While reciting, you might have observed, or you may read the poem again and observe there are no significant rhymes in the poem. Actually, it is a free verse, but there is internal rhyme in the poem in the form of alliteration, assonance, and consonance, and they give it a musical quality. Let's see what is alliteration, assonance, and consonance. Don't be worried about these new terms. I will simply explain what these terms stand for. Alliteration. Alliteration means there is initial repetition of sounds in stress words. Let's take the examples from the poem itself. In expressions like total, teetotaler, total, here you can observe there is a repetition of the sound t, t, t. And in the expression Ramaraj, there is repetition of sound r, r. In the expression regeneration, remuneration, there is again the repetition of r, r, r. Little lovely, there is repetition of la sound. This repetition of sounds in the initial point of words is called alliteration. So there you can observe this poem is full of many such alliterations. And next term is consonance. Consonance means the repetition of only consonant sounds, especially l, n, k, and t. You can observe, for example, taken from the poem Salt Lovely. There is repetition of l sound, but they are within the words. And you can take the example of Pakistan, like there is k sound repeated here also, but not at the beginning of the word. K sound in between the other sounds of the word. And again you can see total, teetotaler, total. This expression is both an example for alliteration, t sound repeated at the beginning of the word, and you can observe this is an example for consonants also, because there is repetition of t sound in the middle of the words also. Next term is assonance. Assonance is nothing but the repetition of a stressed vowel across the words in a line. Example, repetition of a in having, habit, having, habit. So there is a repetition of a, an vowel sound. And also you can observe there is a repetition of e sound in little, drink, li, dri, e sound is repeated in these words. So if you observe all these three qualities, alliteration, consonance, and assonance, they are the repetition of some sounds either at the beginning of the word or in the middle of the word, either the consonant or the vowel. So at phonological level, this poem is very interesting because the poet has used very geniusly the sounds to bring about the musical quality to the poem. And next, if we observe this poem at the lexical level, analyzing the words selected in the poem, the poet has picked these words from the Indian public who are traveling in the trains in Mumbai on the suggestion of his friend. So the poet has carefully selected the Indian words and expressions to bring about Indianness in the poem. First, the present progressive tense marker, that is ing words are used, and the repetition of some words provided rhyming quality as well as musicality to the poem. There are plenty of examples for this: standing, fighting, going, reading, saying, coming, telling, making, harassing. Observe carefully this progressive tense, that is continuous tense marker, that is ing, is a unique feature in Indian English. Many people, without taking notice of the proper tenses to be used, they simply use ing words in their talk. So, if you observe the words selected in this poem stands very unique because there are peculiar words that end with ing. And there is use of Indian expressions also like Lassi, Ramraj, Indra Behan, Hindiwalas. These are our cultural words. They represent our food, our ideas, and our politicians and our countrymen. These expressions bring Indianness to the poem. They signify an Indian ethos and settings of which the speaker is a part. Reduplication, a common feature among the Indian languages, gives an emphasis and Indianness to it. Example, fighting, fighting. It is very common in the Indian languages like aate aate, jate jate. There are many such Indian phrases Indians use freely. This is a unique feature of Indian languages also, and the poet carefully brings this Indianness to this poem also. So in this second lexical level, we have seen the careful selection of some Indian words used in this poem. Let's see this poem analysis in the syntactic level. Syntactic level means grammatical items. The use of style features like monologue, where only the speaker talks, not the listener. Listener has no word at all in this poem. This indicates that the narrator is an assertive person. The ing feature performing different grammatical functions indicate the English spoken by the majority of lower middle class people in India. So grammatically speaking, ing is not only used for progressive, that is continuous tense, it is used commonly in many other expressions also. So ing form actually gives some Indian flavor to this poem. Further, the deviant use of the progressive aspect marker, the articles, and many other grammatical aspects signifies that the speaker has no command over the language, thereby an irony of usage also. This poem follows no grammar because we Indians speak English as we speak our local and mother tongues. So there is no command over the language by Indians, but they try to express their feelings in Indian words and expressions. So at one level, it looks like an irony of the usage of English by Indians, and at the another level, we can see the uniqueness of Indian speakers. So in this third syntactic level, we observe the grammar element that is followed in the poem. In the fourth level, that is semantic level, semantic means the words used and the meaning they convey. The use of monologue reveals the desire of the patriot to be a good speaker. As we have discussed in the previous slide, that there is only the words quoted from the narrator, not the listener. This tells us that he wants to be a good speaker. Speaking a lot without giving a chance to others is also one of the Indianness. The use of intertextuality at the semantic level signifies faulty learning and the improper quotation that serves as an ironic function to create humor. Like use of ing, which is widely used in many different contexts, is actually a faulty learning. So this is not the proper way of quotation. This is not the proper way of speaking, but there is use of such things. This use of intertextuality means a word is used in many contexts at different levels of meaning, shows that the words and the meaning they convey is deeper than what we observe superficially. The metaphoric expressions identified at this semantic level are also conventional. Hence, they reveal a very ordinary person. Metaphor means a figure of speech used to compare things and persons. So, the poet has used many such comparing items. They also tell that they are very conventional and there is no uniqueness in these also. Syntactic repetition adds musicality to the poem. So, when the there is a repetition of word, that is ing words, and words like fighting, they actually add musicality to the poem. And this repetition of words and syntactic expressions gives some uniqueness to this poem. So, in conclusion, dear friends, Very Indian Poem in Indian English is a poem which is remarkable because it is a poem by major contemporary poet of India, that is NISSIM EZEKIEL, and it is known for his use of Indianness of English in the poem for ironic and humorous purposes. I have already discussed that Indianness is used in the poem deliberately to bring irony and to bring humorous element to this poem also. This poem can be viewed as multi-level phenomenon, as we have seen four levels of meaning out of the poem. Nissim Ezekiel uses not only ordinary tongue to create the bazaar English, that is, language of common people, but also the contemporary themes in the mind of average English speaking literates of India. Like we have seen the reading of a news article from the Times of India. This shows that average mentality of the Indian people, very especially English speaking literates of India, and this shows the Bazaar English, and this is the ordinary language that is used by the literates of India. This very Indian poem in Indian English, actually a part of selected poems, is very special one because this is selected deliberately to show you the students that you can also write English poetry with the whatever the expressions that you use, the people use commonly. Take some multiple choice questions based on this analysis. Question number 1. What is cited as example for Western imitation? Dress and culture, wine and things, English and movies, wine and lassi. Multiple choice question number 2. What kind of man is the narrator in the poem? An average lower middle class literate, an excellent English speaking Indian, highly polished middle class literate, an illiterate poor Indian. The third multiple choice question is expressions like total, teetotaler, total, Ramaraj, regeneration, remuneration, little lovely are all examples of A. Simile, B. Metaphor, C. Alliteration, D. Assonance. Out of these four figures of speech, you should choose the right figure of speech that describes the question. Question number 4. Identify the expression used in the poem that shows intertextuality. Gunda fellow, friends, Roman countrymen, regeneration, remuneration, contraception. One day Ramaraja is surely coming. Answer at the end. Question number 5. What is the most prominent syntactic error used in the poem to show the Indianness of English? A. Omission of definite article. B. Excessive use of Indian words. C. Omission of proper word order. D. Excessive use of progressive form of verb. What is cited as example for the Western imitation?
Wine and things.
Is the right answer. For question number 2, what kind of man is the narrator in the poem? So the right answer here is an average lower middle class literate. Option number A. The third question, the words indicated are an example for alliteration. Option C. For fourth question, the expressions used in the poem that shows intertextuality, friends, Romans, and countrymen. Question number 5. The most prominent syntactic error used in the poem is excessive use of progressive form of verb, that is ing verb. Option D is correct. Thank you friends for watching this video.